Okay, so we're ready to call this meeting to order. So we're going to start with the roll call.
Commissioner Hostetler.
Here.
Commissioner Cadle.
Here.
Commissioner Holt-Burse.
Here.
Commissioner Weislar.
Here.
Commissioner Leanders.
Here.
Commissioner Quesada Comerford. Commissioner Leachman.
Okay, and we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Has everybody reviewed the minutes from the last meeting? And if so, can I get a motion to approve?
I move so. I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Next, we're going to move on to the new business. I think someone out there is going to handle that.
So the city does several annual reports. There's one that gets kind of compiled about all activities department by department. One other way that we collect annual data is for boards and commissions. This is kind of like working backwards from a work plan. You know, it's like we take a glance back and then we note some of these things. We had accomplishments, goals, things like that. Having just had our last meeting about creating a work plan, you can see how helpful this will be for next year when it's like, oh yeah, we had these several objectives, we've accomplished those, here's how those things turn out, here's our successes, things like that. But since we are working backwards this year, the idea is we wanted to bring this to the body to see if we needed to highlight any major accomplishments or list 3 to 5 new goals that your board or commission would set. I'm very comfortable with if you adopt your work plan tonight or you tweak that we would just attach that as your goals for this next year and just say, please see attached. But as far as accomplishments for this last year, I think I want to make sure the board had an opportunity to speak to that and give any feedback.
Okay.
Just attach it.
Yeah, is there any, does anybody want to highlight any major accomplishments from this year, things that you think as a board were a job well done?
The housing
seminar.
Housing seminar, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. We had better reception to it, better attendance, I think, moving it back into town.
So we could put the housing seminar and attendance, you know, just note that we had X amount of people attend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We probably, let's see.
Could we list how many, the due diligence that they've done with the amount of people coming in and things like that they've been able to maintain, you know, regular numbers, so to speak, of helping people?
Number of people served and then maybe a number of cases that came in and then those that were then mediated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also the outreach and the education. And I would think that the education, the outreach that they've done has helped to bring those numbers up for the people coming in because they're knowing more about the department and what can be done.
Okay. They've got all those. Anything else we need to add?
Well, I think also just them being able to keep the department going without having a director. Or was that Steve's title? Whatever his title was. Supervisor. Yeah, without having the supervisor for several months.
They're awesome, so. We're super excited. Evelyn gets here Monday, so. Yes. We're all so excited.
Load off a little bit.
Yes, yeah, she's here. I know she's gotten her apartment rented, and she's got her boys in school this week, and ready for Monday, so.
She's now official
All right.
Salinen.
Yes, Salinen.
Trying to figure out how to the best way to say that.
So that's definitely, we've already met a goal for 2019.
And it's perfect
It's a
timing
win.
for her and for all of us within the first of the year.
Yep. No, we couldn't be luckier right now. Okay, last call on accomplishments. Any others we need to add? If it is okay with the body, I would suggest we just leave goals blank for the moment, since next on your agenda is the proposed 2019 work plan, and that we would, if it's okay with you, we would just go with the work plan as far as goals. Okay. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay, great. Then we'll add these to the accomplishments, and that report will go to the city clerk, which will then go to city commission.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No,
Not
it's not an
amending.
official action.
Yeah, we're not amending anything.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. We'll move on to unfinished or other business. So that would be the 2019 work plan.
Yes. So, based on our last meeting, staff kind of took several of the different comments and tried to kind of amalgamate those together that were very similar, and worked these into goals and objectives for the commission over 2019. I will say, and Huli did a good job of taking us through kind of SMART objectives, but I think this, as our first go at this, I'd rather get progress than perfection. And I think just getting some things on paper and just even having some goals is a really good start in getting through this next year and making progress. And we can start to get kind of more finite with those. And I think it's just kind of part of the transition. So as you look at some of these, they may sound like a little vague. But I think at this point, rather than kind of skipping the step or waiting until we know exact details about things, the real response is we will develop and implement new training on at least a certain subject. In a perfect world, we would say every other Wednesday at 2 p.m. with X amount of attendance or something like that. But I think we'll get there. But for this first go, just even recognizing those things is a really good first start. So as you'll see on the board and what's in your packet, goal 1 is improve commission administration. And these are just some of the things that we've talked about as you guys, both your relationship with staff and kind of how things work for you as a board. It's kind of the behind the scenes things and how you operate. One of those is develop and implement your work plan. So that's a good first start. Keep the Human Relations Commission fully seated. There was a recognition that vacancies create challenges, especially when it comes to quorum and having that balanced level of expertise that the code is really written to give the board. And under that as sub-bullets, we said inform staff when the commission has referred an applicant to an expression of interest form. So if you have somebody that you handed that form to and you're like, go apply, and they said, well, I did, let us know, because that means we can go to the clerks, make sure it's checked in, and I think I will tell you from a staff side of things, this is evolving, especially with a new city manager and trying to kind of learn how to keep boards fully seated. In the past, we liked to have this happen every September. It was like kind of this big calling of the members and everything was replaced and swapped out. But just as life goes on, you end up with these, 2 or 3 vacancies on different boards, and those have to be filled throughout the year. And I think the best way to handle that is the mayor just has to be reminded that those vacancies are out there. Otherwise, you just it kind of gets to a point where it piles up. And if we don't have to wait for the pile up, we just need to make sure those are in there. And then at least, we can't force him or her to do anything, but at least let them know as a board you're eager and that you have people that are ready to apply. And so those are outlined here in the plan. We had talked a little bit about parliamentary procedure training. We've got some really basic material. I think we started gathering for you guys, and we were talking a little bit before the meeting about good sources for learning about parliamentary procedure. But I think, maybe a one-page double-sided kind of reference document would be helpful, and we could just do, a little half an hour workshop before a meeting, or even during, and just kind of run you guys through some training for that. I think this is a really important one, is to attend mock case study sessions facilitated by staff twice a year. I think with different people kind of coming and going, and with the way the cases kind of come in and come out, a lot of times somebody may have sat on the board for quite some time before they get pulled into dealing with cases. And so just keeping those skills fresh and knowledgeable so you're not kind of caught off guard is really important. And I think it also helps the board to understand what's happening for staff kind of on a daily basis, and the uniqueness of everything coming into the office and how we're trying to kind of work through some of these things. So we would suggest at least biannually, and that was something that you guys had brought up too. So you'll see this kind of comes up as an objective under item or goal number 1, but also number 2 is you guys were saying, well, hey, we want to be out in the community more too and help to train on fair housing or whatever it is that we're at, maybe an open house for, or some of the job fairs or back to school fairs. And as we develop new trainings, the first point is we should bring those to you and present them to you so that you guys are aware of what's being presented in the community. And then 2, provide opportunities for you to learn how to be part of some of that. So if you want to be at those events, you can help in answering questions and help to present on that. So as those trainings are developed, the objective here is to share those with you so that you know what the product looks like, and then also to provide opportunities on how you can get involved and help train too. And that takes us to goal number 2, which is increased diversity, cultural awareness, education, and advocacy in the community. So objective 1 is to work with staff to plan and host a cultural and equity breakfast for the community. We'd shared that idea with you guys that we saw it in Garden City, and everybody kind of thought that would be an interesting and new event for us. And then each commissioner to attend at least one community relations outreach event a year in order to increase commission presence in the community. And that kind of jives back to what I was just talking about, that if we have these back to school fairs or these different events, it would be great to have one of you with us, just kind of connecting the community with the commission.
And isn't there one coming up here pretty soon at the schools? I seen it was kind of like I'd seen you at one before where, wow, it was like a job fair, I think, at the Salina South. And I think they're having another one coming up, and I didn't know if you guys were going to be there on this one or.
I haven't gotten any information about anything coming up in the spring semester, but we'll sure be looking for it.
Okay.
And I'm sure
I'll look into it a little bit more. If I can't figure it out, I'll shoot you an email. Okay.
And maybe something to add to your agenda as a regularly occurring thing is new outreach events. So just even sharing the calendar with you guys or letting you know when those are happening. I mean, sometimes the way the meetings fall, we might have something come up and it's going to happen before the meeting. But in general, just to kind of give you a heads up, that would probably be an optional way for you guys to kind of pick things that you may want to be a part of.
So just add that right after the new business section or whatever, and just an update on the upcoming outreach programs that are going to be offered.
Yeah.
Or under the staff report or somewhere, so that each meeting you guys can give us an update on what's happening in the next month, 2 months, 3 months, or whatever.
It's almost like case docket log and customer assistance table. It's almost like a 4-5 where those are just standard items that hang out there, and it would be future outreach events.
And before you said that's where I'd put it, was in between number 4-3 and 4-4.
Perfect.
I'd put up training Cummings outreach schedules, so.
Yeah, I think that'd be an optimal place, and then we'll just make sure it keeps showing up there.
Does the city have a calendar page? Would they also be posted on that so they're available to the community as well as a viewing?
the city does have a calendar page. I know typically we don't add like our individual office events that we go participate in. We don't normally add those to the citywide calendar because I think typically those are for like the city commission and board meetings and city holidays and things like
and
that.
the things you do, it's like at the schools and things like that where they don't want the public coming in necessarily.
I think the city calendar is like, it's events we're responsible for hosting. So if you're holding a commission meeting, it's our responsibility. But like when the girls are out in the public, like that's the school district's event, or that may be a, corrections event or something like that.
That's something they're invited to.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually, and you're right, it's, the school district doesn't want a bunch of people hanging out at their.
We can't crash their party.
No, exactly. Could not have said that better,
Well,
Chris.
We were trying.
If I can interject for just a second, then I guess how we normally approach them is we get invited and we go rather than us, promoting like, hey, public, do you know that this community back to school fair is happening because we're going to be there. I think sometimes we'll mention it off and on if a family comes in and asks a specific question, but normally we just kind of respond to the invitations rather than like promote each different event, if that makes sense. But we do report on each event to our commission.
Okay, so yeah, we'll just add it then as part of the business that you'll report on upcoming events that we can tag along.
Yep. I think that would probably be the easiest way for everybody. Okay, and that takes us to goal number 3, and that's broaden social justice initiatives in the community, with the objective 1 being to increase community civil rights education opportunities, with 2 objectives being work with staff on employment law events and resources, such as the educational videos that we're going to be working on. And B, assist with the promotion of the Fair Housing Seminar, and with the objective also having 1 to 4 of the commissioners attending that. So not only hosting it, but having at least a handful of you there. I will say is, just from a purely administrative point of view, when we get closer to that, we really need to know head count, because if enough of a quorum is going to be there, we just need to advertise that you guys would be there ahead of time. And that just says to the public that you guys will be in a situation in which there are enough of you, even though you won't be making a decision. Okay. That takes us to goal number 4, increase knowledge about housing subject matter in the community. And as we talked about last meeting, we're kind of moving more in this direction, not just from the fair housing component of that, but like accessibility of housing, availability, the full breadth of housing stock, affordability, location. So for objectives, we have a 10 housing summit facilitated by staff. That's the almost kind of SWOT analysis that we've been talking about holding, and asking nonprofits and other folks who are participating in kind of the housing world to come together and start looking at where we've got a lot of resources and maybe where we don't have any resources, to better understand not only how we all fit in the picture, but definitely from a city perspective, as this problem gains momentum, how do we best facilitate and help? Objective 2 is to attend at least 1 housing-focused training a year. And then that kind of jives with 3, is for staff will work to develop housing training or find training opportunities for the board. So we'd like you to go to 1. I think it's a reasonable goal, and either we'll find it or we'll find some place for everybody to go to get some of that training. So I hope we captured everything from the last meeting. If we didn't, please let us know. We can always add to this. But this is kind of how we brought all of the discussion together.
Okay. Okay, and we're going to move into the employment law seminar update.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
real quickly before we move on to the next item of business, do any changes need to be made to this document?
I didn't see anything that I thought needed to, but anybody else catch anything?
I thought it was well worded and covered about everything we went over.
If it is okay with the board, I think this would be an ideal thing to make a motion on and accept this as your 2019 work plan, then it's in the minutes, and we can attach it with that, and we can work with this throughout the rest of the year.
Okay, perfect. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve and include this in our agenda and our minutes?
Motion.
Okay, have a second?
I second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. This will become part of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Now into the update for the employment law seminar.
We had a meeting about a week ago, end of last week, myself, Chris, and Julio and Gilda. So with the changes of Steve not being around, there's been a missing gap of where we could actually see where we needed to move forward with the employment law seminar. So we're going to work together as a team, everyone together through both the commission and the staff to ensure that what we're doing is following the government policies. And so we are working through that process and determining what we need to do to make sure that we're following in the guidelines.
Anything to add?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
Just
on
to
hold.
Just to add to that, I mean, I think something that, in kind of playing catch up with Steve's absence, when we started talking a little bit about your work plan and as staff kind of got together, my biggest fear is for you guys to have produced a script, material, videos, and then to have gotten that, watched it, and went, either that's not legal,
Yeah.
or we can't use that material, or there's copy, or just a variety
it's
of
a
things in which our
person who
legal
can't work
team
with the city.
could have a stroke over.
Yeah.
And then have you guys be frustrated and have to start all over again. That I think for a board this size, with a staff our size, if that is like kind of the one big work product you want to produce this year, that we need to kind of find out what is that equitable way in which staff can assist you, and not just kind of say, here, committee, do this thing. And, you know, I think we need to provide some resources, and, you know, we have access through the city to maybe, you know, video cameras or things like that, and some of those other components, or at least getting some money to have professionals help with some of those things, and thinking ahead of time about the websites that they need to go on so people can access them, and the formatting, and just kind of that. I think what we're hoping is the committee members can work through the script, give direction on what you're really hoping to have impact with, what the video looks like, but more of the administrative side of producing and getting it up and going would fall on us and not necessarily your level of expertise.
Delegate out for you for the professional backup.
Yeah, I mean, because your guys' experience is really in those areas of how to message on this, and your own work experiences on a daily basis, versus having to worry about the nitty-gritty of how it was produced or how it got on the city's website and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of where the conversation left, at least from staff point of view too. So we're here to help with that.
Okay. And then also, if I could make a suggestion, it's a committee of 3 plus the staff, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. If everybody would be amenable to it, I would like to volunteer to become another member of that committee. That way I can, you know, be more involved with what's going on, maybe have a little bit more input and just help to expand a little bit more, and so the load doesn't fall on just 2 or 3 of you.
I'm
If-
perfectly good with that.
If that would be okay? Okay, then I would like to be added to that committee.
Perfect timing, really, because like I said, we have ideas of where we want to go, and we've got some things set. But like they said, for them to be there to step by step, we'll know that we get it right the first time, and don't have to redo it. So,
Perfect.
good time.
All right. We can move on to the customer assistance table.
So we have wrapped up 2018. Hard to believe we're in 2019. But here we are. So we finished out the year with 71 opportunities to assist the public. with a total served this year, or I should say last year, of 964 individuals or opportunities.
Good job.
I think 71's quite a lot for the month of December with everything else going on.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that shows, is that 2017? Yeah, so that's a significant uptick.
Big jump.
The word is out.
So that means congratulations, because you guys are really doing what you need to for people to know that you're there. That is
That's
awesome.
300 plus.
Yeah,
Okay,
that is exciting.
yeah.
And so far this month, even though everything else seems to be dead everywhere after the holidays, it's still been pretty busy in the office, hasn't it?
So the first day back, yes, the second, I feel like the second was busier than I expected. But the week after Christmas, there were 2 days there where people definitely said, oh, it's not Christmas anymore and let me get in before the new year, because I was pretty, I was there holding down the fort during, everyone's kind of vacation time and things like that. And I didn't expect that many, but it was busier. Numbers were up and strong, and we had a whole bunch. I mean, everything coming in from regular landlord-tenant questions to people's emergencies, like their furnaces going out and trying to get them connected to inspectors upstairs if that's what they chose they wanted to do. And yes, we had quite a bit going on as a department, I think, as a whole, because we had to send them up to you all. So
I was really hoping it'd be quieter than it was.
Well, and just knowing the mindset of the landlord-tenant situations, nobody wants to put anybody out or cause any problems at Christmas. So as soon as Christmas is over, that's when it always hits. Yeah. And it's good that they know that you guys are here and they're coming for the help.
It's been busy.
Yeah.
It seems like it hasn't stopped, so.
Okay. I'm going to move on to the case docket log.
Okay, so under the employment section, we currently have one case open that we're working through, dealing with race for a Hispanic individual. We conciliated a case last week. Awesome job for
Yay.
Gilda. Went really well, and it's a great example of just doing exactly what we're supposed to do, kind of helping bring different people together with some miscommunication and a lot of different little scenarios, but giving them an opportunity to come together, hash things out, and kind of get everybody on the right direction. So that one's closed. And then public accommodation is currently open, and that's dealing with gender and national origin Hispanic. So that one is still being worked through investigation-wise.
Okay.
Well, we're here if you need us.
I guess I felt like I needed to interject for a second on the two. Yes, still kind of pending cases. If you haven't gotten them yet, that's usually the point after initial notification where we get contacted either by their legal team or there's kind of like that gap in time of, where are you? Do we need to send another notification letter, which we did have to do for one of the cases. But at this point, we've been contacted by one of the legal teams for, they requested an extension because they received our notice, I think, the day after Christmas. So they requested an extension of Lauren, and we granted that, and we're working together kind of with our office legal, who is there to assist those communications if necessary between us and them, not as an attorney that represents the complainant, but just kind of a resource for our office. And yeah, so both of those cases kind of have that going on at the moment, where we cannot just hand them off into an investigation to present you with something to read, because we're still working through the waters with everyone's attorney teams at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Don't think I have any questions on any of the cases they're working on, so does anybody else have any questions for them on any of it? Okay. And we don't have anybody from the public here, so no public forum. Anything else that needs to be addressed?
I think so. I mentioned Evelyn starts Monday.
Hey.
And where is she coming from?
Quad Cities region of Iowa.
Okay. So, still Midwest. Yep. All right. Okay. Anything else? Can I get an update of any special meeting times or anything else that's going on, say with the employment seminar committee or anything?
Yes. What, the 22nd?
January the 22nd, 5:30.
Here?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically the initial kind of next planning phase, so to speak, the official.
Okay.
Want to go to our office?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Anything else coming up that we need to know about or should know about, or?
Maybe just the fair housing seminar, just be reminding them of that date.
So this year's Fair Housing Seminar will be April 26th. We are still in the planning phases, but hopefully by, we usually tend to have the flyer ready and start mailing those around February to give people enough time to get it on the radar and just to promote it, and then get everything ready. From February to April, I feel like it just happens in a blink of an eye, so.
Okay, but the date is for sure the 26th?
Yes, it is for sure
Okay.
the 26th at Tony's Pizza Event Center.
Okay. If there's nothing else, then have a motion to adjourn?
I second.
Yeah, you want first?
Oh, then sorry.
You want to make a,
I have motion to adjourn.
you have a second?
I second.
I totally misheard you.
Okay, everybody in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well then, meeting adjourned.